Hi, I'm Krishna. Welcome to phase two of the comprehensive session on Boolean Search. Before I talk to you about logic, that would be the main topic of discussion in phase two, I would like to talk to you about two words which usually are in the vocabulary of recruiters. The first word is fungible. Now, when we say that a candidate is fungible, he or she is a fungible candidate, what it means is for that particular role, that candidate can be placed in any team. So that candidate is team agnostic. So maybe you've done a recruiter phone screen, or maybe a business phone screen's been done, and or even an interview has been done, and you're ready to put in an offer. Either way, at any point of the recruiting workflow, if the candidate seems appropriate and this candidate can be put in any team for similar roles, that candidate is fungible. So you can put that candidate in any team, right, for similar roles. So that is a fungible candidate. So let's just say if you're thinking about an SDE, software development engineer, and maybe you had a regular phone screen, or maybe we had a business phone screen, or maybe the interview has been concluded and we are ready to put in an offer. But then we know that pending any positive approval on any of the stages of the recruiting workflow, if you can place that candidate in any team, or that candidate can go to pretty much any team based on his or her skill set. Now that candidate is a fungible candidate, fungible SDE, right? So that's pretty much it. More importantly, I would like to talk about full stack developer. I'm a tech recruiter, so usually I deal with full stack developers a lot. And I think the way I like to think about full stack developer is they pretty much do end to end work, right? When I say end to end, I would like to divide the work they do, the full stack work that they do, into three parts. The first one is front end, the second one is back end, the third one is database. A brief discussion on each of them. When I talk about front end, right? So essentially, let's just say you have a website. You go to the browser, you type in the website name, and you have the UI, the user interface. Like, you have the username box, and where you type in the username, you have the password box where you type in the password, you have the login buttons. So the UI and the UX, segments of this website, essentially anything that the user uses, comes under front end. Now, let's go to backend. So to quote the previous example, let's take a website. You have the username, you have the password, you entered some data and you press the login button. Now that data has to, go somewhere. It calls a service. So anything that is related to this service, like, let's just say you log in, or maybe you've been searching some products on a website. You say, okay, I want to buy I don't know, Pokemon toys, right? And you type in the search button, right? And, then it calls a service. It searches for every relevant um, word or string that has Pokemon in it. It tries to customize it for you, so on and so forth, right? So everything that deals with calling the service and what the service entails, that's called that's what backend works on, right? And the third phase would be the database end. Now, when you're entering data, this data has to be stored somewhere. And imagine if you have a billion users, now that takes on an entirely different scale and scope, right? So that's the one which the database end entails. So to talk about a few technologies on front end, some things are like Angular, React. If you're going to talk about some technologies on backend, it would be languages like Java, C Sharp, Python, so on and so forth. And last but not the least, when we talk about database end, there are many databases like SQL, MySQL, NoSQL. When there's NoSQL, things like MongoDB, Cosmos DB, so on and so forth, right? I strongly recommend you to try to learn more about full stack developer, especially in terms of the work they do. But what I gave was a very brief you know explanation on what a full stack developer does, right? Pretty much end to end. So the user interfaces, the services, and also the databases where you store the data. So essentially, end-to-end work is done by the full stack developer, right? Now let's go back to logic. Uh, when I think of logic, this is what comes to my mind, right? Let's just say the hiring manager has an ask. To take an example, the hiring manager says, I want an SDE, probably 3+ years of experience, right? And that candidate should be a full stack developer, right? So essentially, this would be the ask of my hiring manager, of the hiring manager, right? Now, once this is, pretty much the hiring manager says, hey, the candidate is fungible. So we have many teams that candidate can go anywhere. So pretty much this is the ask of the hiring manager. So 3+ years, full stack developer, pretty much that's it, right? And obviously, since he's okay with any language, like it can be the developer could have been working in Java before, or C Sharp, or Python. It doesn't matter, right? The candidate is fungible. They can be pretty much placed in any team, but that candidate should be a full stack developer with some experience, with 3+ years experience. That's pretty much it, right? Now, this is the first stage. This is the ask of the hiring manager. Then we go into the recruiting workflow. And the first part is you will be turning the ask of the hiring manager into logic, right? This logic is what you would use to translate into a Boolean string or a Boolean search string or something, right? So that's what we're going to do. Now let's get our logic part. Who are you looking for, right? Imagine you have an ATS, an applicant tracking system, or maybe a CRM software. It can be iCIMS, it can be Beamery, it can be Acquire, Hardtool, LinkedIn Recruiter, whatever it is. And you have millions of resumes. You have millions of resumes, and they would be for a variety of roles. They would be for marketing, they would be for sales, they could be for, program managers, project managers, product managers, they would be for SDEs. So, which profile are you looking for? You're looking for the SDE profile. So that's for the first thing that you're looking for is a title. The title or the role that you're looking for is an SDE, right? Now, obviously, when you're looking for the resume, how would you look for the resume? Would you just, if you would just type in SDE, will it give you resumes? Probably yes. Probably you would get about 30% of the resumes who call themselves SDE. But then, lots of people have different titles. Lots of people have different roles. Like they might introduce themselves as software developer. They might introduce themselves as software engineers. They would call themselves SDE2. They would also say SDE2, right? They can even call, some of them can even be senior software engineers nowadays. There are different roles. Maybe the scope of an SDE in one company might be similar to the scope of a senior software engineer in another company. So it's usually I like to uh, you know, incorporate senior software engineer as well. Then maybe they can call themselves MTS, that is member of technical staff. Obviously, full stack developer, right? And this can go on and on and on. So essentially, our logic is firstly, who are we looking for? We are looking for an SDE. We are looking for a software development engineer, right? So that's why, and when we are looking at resumes, they can have different titles. So that's the first thing that we look for. Secondly, we're looking for tech skills, right? In some CRM softwares or ATSs, if lots of people just put in the title and then there would be another section where they were separately write in the click on the skills like the full stack or maybe the Java, C Sharp, Python, if it's a front-end developer, then maybe they click on different skills like Angular, React, JavaScript, so on and so forth, right? Uh, but in some Boolean strings or in some tools, we can include tech skills as well, right? So that's something I'd like to call out. Uh, Either you can just put in the title in some tools, and you can just click on the skills without incorporating them in the Boolean search, or you can even write the Boolean search as part of the sorry you can even write the technical skills as part of the Boolean search, right? It's your choice. It depends on your comfort factor, it depends upon the tool, it depends ultimately it depends on what you choose to do. So one thing about Boolean search is when you have a good set of strings, Boolean strings, it's a good practice to try them out first and see what kind of profiles are you getting, and look at a couple of profiles, randomly select them and see how they are matching up to the candidate profile you've been asked to search for. And if you're satisfied with the candidate profiles, I think it's a good idea to proceed. If it is not working out so good, then change your Boolean string, right? Okay, now let's come back to tech skills. Now, because this candidate is going to be a full stack developer, obviously we are going to think about three things. One is front end, one is back end, the other one is database. And we're going to talk about the tech skills. In the front end, let's just say we have Angular, we have React, right? Just that's pretty much. There are so many more, but just you know, um, for being for being concise, I just chose two. For backend, usually we can do Java, C Sharp, or Python, so on and so forth. And for database, let's just say obviously we have SQL and maybe no SQL, so on and so forth. Right? So these are the tech skills. So this is essentially our logic right now. So based on the ask of 3+ years in full stack development fungible, we are trying to make it very, very generic, right? So obviously the title is going to be an SDE, right? So we have SDE, software engineer, SDE2, senior software engineer, MTS, full stack developer, so on and so forth, right? And then the tech skills are going to be, because it's going to be a full stack developer. We know for full stack, it's end-to-end work, so front end, back end, and database. So that's what we're trying to do. So for tech skills, we have front end, these are the technologies, back end, these are the technologies, databases, these are the databases that we see quite frequently. So there can be more. Sometimes some of the hiring managers are very specific. They'll just say, hey, we want somebody with C Sharp, SQL, and Angular. Some people might say, hey, we want somebody with Java, React, and NoSQL. Someone may say, okay, fine, we would like Python, but we definitely want them to have Python. Some people might say, well, Python is good to have. So you need to know the skills that so the skills can be made into two sections: one must haves, one good to haves, right? So um, that's also something that you have to incorporate in your Boolean. So need to haves, usually we use and, good to haves, usually we use or, right? So right now we are pretty much working on need to haves, like the title and the text skills. But obviously when you have a choice, because the candidate is fungible, it can be this or this, it can be Java or C Sharp or Python, it can be SQL or no SQL, right? So that's pretty much it on logic. So we have converted the ask of the hiring manager into the logic, and this is pretty much what we would be incorporating in the Boolean string. So in phase 3 of the next video, I'll be taking this logic and I'll be converting it into a Boolean string. See you there. Bye.